Om Jnana Timandasya Chinandana Shalaka Saksun Militam Yena Tasmai Sigurave Namah Namam Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pastaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhaktisiddhanta Swami Tidamani Namaste Sarasvati Devi Gauravani Pacharini Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Paskachai Desatarani. Good morning. Today we celebrate Tirobhava, the disappearance day of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati or Swami Maharaj. That so Maharaj, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Maharaj is the spiritual master of Srila Prabhupada and the son of Bhakti Vinod Thakur. That he appeared in the year 1874. That he was the son of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur has revived our tradition that in the centuries after the appearance of Lord Chaitanya, many deviating sects came up that Appa Sampradayas, they are named, deviating from the pure teachings of Lord Chaitanya. But Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur and also Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Maharaj later defeated all these Appa Sampradayas, who made it very clear to everyone that they were deviating, and they re-established in pure teachings that Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur discovered Chaitanya Charitamrita and written by Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami. And he printed it. That he started printing books, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, and then Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Maharaj continued that. So the Chaitanya Charitamrita was printed, the Bhagavatam was printed, that Chaitanya Bhagavat later by Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Maharaj. That but Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he was a magistrate, deputy magistrate, and he was moved over India. That he was moved all over India. Every 2-3 years, he had to be in another place. Sometimes longer, sometimes shorter. That once he became the deputy magistrate for Jagannath Puri. That and he became in charge of the big temple of Jagannath Puri. It is said he was regulating the deity worship to a point of great precision, 64 offerings a day to Lord Jagannath. That and it was at that time, while he was in Jagannath Puri. That was in 1874, that his son appeared, took birth. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur his wife was Bhagavati, and he had more than 10 children. But Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur was praying for a ray of Vishnu, an empowered devotee who would help him in his mission to re-establish the mission of Rupa Goswami and Lord Chaitanya. And when Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati took birth, he gave him the name Bimal Prasad when he took birth, because in Jagannath Puri they have 64 offerings to Lord Jagannath, and then a part of the offering of Lord Jagannath is offered to Durga Devi, that is also called Bimal. So therefore Bimal Prasad, that because at that time in Jagannath Puri, the house of Bhaktivinoda Thakur was more or less halfway between the Jagannath temple and the Gundicha temple. Every year on this road, the Jagannath Ratha Yatra cart comes, and then just before his house, the cart stopped. And it would not move. That happens many times in Jagannath Puri. The cart stopped and nobody can move it. And this is the big road between Jagannath temple and Gundicha temple. I was there with Bhakti Charamraj, and I've seen the house of Bhaktivinoda Thakur. But when the cart stopped, Bhagavati came out with the baby and put it on the cart at the lotus feet of Lord Jagannath. And when she did that, immediately a garland fell from the deity on the head of Bimal Prasad. By that, the Bhaktivinoda Thakur understood this is the ray of Vishnu I was praying for. Then some time later, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, as deputy magistrate by the British Raj, was moved to Serampore. Serampore is not far from Calcutta. And there, first he went to Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Maharaj, went to a basic school, and then he went to the Calcutta Metropolitan Institute, I think. That this was the place where the Bhadralok were educated. The Bhadralok are those who received a British education. The British, they had a plan to change the Indians by giving them a Christian English education. Of course, that were only a select part of the population, and those who got this Bhadralok education, the new youth, they got engaged by the British Raj. They got different posts, like also Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur got his education. Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj got his education. And also Srila Prabhupada got his education at the Scottish College in Calcutta. I've been there with Guru Maharaj, Scottish College, that you could feel the history there. That therefore Prabhupada was proficient in English, British English, and he also knew the Christian faith and so on, and also Bhaktivinoda Thakur. That. But then Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Maharaj, he had an inclination, Bimal Prasad at that time, he had an inclination for mathematics, and he was studying astronomy, and he became very, very expert in it. And later, he studied also Sanskrit, and Indian philosophy and history. And he was, So at a certain moment, he was engaged by the Maharaj of Tripurari to educate his princely sons or the sons of his sons. And the Maharaj of Tripurari also engaged him in writing and editing the history of the kings of Tripurari. The king of Tripurari had a good relationship with Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, and he supported always Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur for his printing and so on. But then he did that until 1900. And around 1900, he started, because he wanted to take initiation, because he did all these studies, mathematics, astronomy. He had his own school in astronomy for some time, and then went to the Maharaj of Tripurari. But while doing that, this was not his real business. His real business was reading the books of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur and helping them with editing and so on. He was more absorbed in that than in this astronomy and this study of Sanskrit and so on. But then, yes, he wanted to take initiation and he asked his father, from whom should I take initiation? And his father said, you should take initiation from Gaura Kishore Das Babaji. Now, Gaura Kishore Das Babaji and Bhaktivinoda Thakur were both pure devotees of Krishna, but Bhaktivinoda Thakur was a householder, and Gaura Kishore Das Babaji was an ascetic, that Babaji, that he had been in his youth. He had been a rice merchant selling rice, but then after his wife died, he decided to renounce everything and came to Vrindavan, and he was constantly chanting the holy name. That Kishore Das Babaji had got initiation from a disciple of Jagannath Das Babaji. And he was always chanting. He was illiterate, could not read. But when Bimal Prasad went to Kishore Das Babaji to ask for initiation, then Kishore Das Babaji said, "Oh, how can I give you initiation? I'm illiterate, and I'm illiterate, and you are a great professor in astronomy, very renowned. Everyone knows you. That I cannot give you initiation." But then Bimal Prasad went a few times back, always begging, "Please give me initiation." And then Gauri Kishore Das Babaji at the moment said, "Okay, I will ask Lord Chaitanya." And then about 3 months later, Bimal Prasad went back and he asked Gauri Kishore Das Babaji, "Did you ask Lord Chaitanya?" And then Gauri Kishore Das Babaji said, "Oh, I forgot." But then sometime later, Bimal Prasad said, I will commit suicide and jump from a bridge if you don't give me initiation." And finally, he gave him initiation. But then after around 1900, Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati, because its title he got before as a professor in astronomy, he got the title Siddhanta Sarasvati. But later he changed it in Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati, the title. That interesting. But around 1900, he made a vow to chant 1 billion names of Krishna. So that vow took him 10 years to fulfill. 10 years. And he was assisting also Bhaktivinoda Thakur with printing. But then at a certain moment, Bhaktivinoda Thakur was sick, and he was invited to speak for a meeting of Brahmins, caste Brahmins, Smarta Brahmins. That they think that you are a Brahmin only when you take birth in a Brahmin family, otherwise you cannot be a Brahmin. And he was invited to speak to them, but he was too sick, and he asked Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Maharaj to go and speak, and he went. And Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Maharaj, when he came there, he gave a speech, and he started to glorify the Brahmins, and all the Brahmins felt very good. But then he started to point out, based on the scripture, that in Kali Yuga there are no qualified Brahmins. They are all like Sudras. Of course, that was less appealing news. But then he started to explain that one is by Brahman, but one is only a Brahman by qualifications. And he said the Vaishnav is higher than a Brahman. Becoming a Brahman is only a stage to become a Vaishnava. And he quoted so many verses that, of course, the general public was very happy with his speech, but the Smarta Brahmins, it created a lifelong enmity between them. Because in 2020, this is 14 years later, because this speech was in 1906 or something, that or later. But in 1920, when Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Maharaj went with disciples on Parigami Navadvip, some ruffians came throwing bricks and trying to hurt everyone. And they many times tried to kill Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati, but he was uncompromising in his preaching. He was a lion preacher. That even the impersonalists were afraid of him, and when they saw him, the Mayavadis, they went on the other side of the street or went into the other direction. He was called a lion preacher, very strong in his preaching. That, of course, in 1914, Bhaktivinoda Thakur left his body. And in 2015, Gaurikishore Das Babaji also left. At that time, he moved the printing press from Calcutta of Bhaktivinoda Thakur to Krishnanagar. And Ghelli, after the disappearance of his spiritual master, he took sannyas before a picture of Gaurikishore Das Babaji. And he started his preaching mission, the Gaudiya Math, which grew in India, and he did many things, innovations. He introduced sannyas. Before there was no sannyas, formal sannyas in our tradition, only in the Sankaracharya tradition or in the Sri Sampradaya. In the Sri Sampradaya, they had sannyasis. And these sannyasis, they were carrying the tridanda. That in Sankaracharya is one danda. And he also introduced the saffron cloth, which he copied from the Sri Sampradaya. Because he traveled in South India and visited the ashram of Ramanujacharya and so on. And there he came in contact and he copied that, and he gave sannyas to his most advanced disciples, senior disciples, and also the brahmacharis. They were then dressed also in saffron, and he asked them to preach. He instructed them to preach all over India, to go from village to village, and use the Namata preaching system of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, having villages, the kirtan, a lecture and prasad. By that they created 64 centers in India and one center in Burma. He also tried to go outside of India, and he sent Bon Maharaj with 2 assistants to London. But in London he was well received, because there was the Lord of Zetland, who had been the governor of Bengal and who had seen the devotees there. Very nice. He was very nice received, but he could not make disciples. And then he went from London to Germany, at that time Nazi Germany. And then he, with the help of Ernst Schulze, who was a German scholar, who was also studying the Vedic literature, he wrote a book which was translated in German. Die Gedenken über die Hinduism. That was the title of the book. But then the Nazis found out that his book was not in agreement with their racial theory, that the Germans were the Übermensch, the perfect, and so they could not come from they were the real Aryans, not Aryans, not the Aryans coming from India. They thought it was in the other direction. Anyway, it's all, but they wanted to prosecute him, and he had to flee Nazi Germany, and he went back to London, and then back to India together with Ernest Schulze, this German disciple, and he became a disciple of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Maharaj. And later he took also sannyas. So yes, of course, Srila Prabhupada, he met Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Maharaj in 1922, Calcutta. His schoolmate, his college friend, Narendra Nath, told him, you should go to see this Swami, this sadhu. But Prabhupada didn't want, because that he saw his father received so many sadhus, and they all did nonsense. They were smoking biddies and so on, and he was not impressed by it. But still he forced him, Narendranath, to go to see Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Maharaj. And they went to see Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Maharaj in Calcutta at a place at the highest floor of a small building. And on top, Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Maharaj was giving a lecture, and when they came in, they offered obeisance to him. And immediately Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Maharaj said to both, you are a well-educated man, you should take up the mission of Lord Chaitanya and preach to the Western world, so English-speaking world. So that was a direct instruction that was received. Of course, it took for Srila Prabhupada got initiated in 1933. This is 11 years later, but during these 11 years he did a lot of preaching for the Gaudiya Math. He was also asked to give lectures, although he was Bhakta Abai. Yes. Then Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Maharaj passed away in 1936 on this day, today. Of course, we have also a lot of teachings of Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Maharaj. And I've here 64 quotes from Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Maharaj. I'm not going to read them all, but I will read a few for your meditation. So first, he says, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's instructions is in Sikshastakam, Param Vidyate Shri Krishna Sankirtam, is the only motto of the Gaudiya Math, he said. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, is the only enjoyer. Everyone and everything else is object of enjoyment. Anyone who does not serve Hari, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is ignorant and a killer of himself. To learn to tolerate is one of the most important responsibilities of those living in the Math. Upanura devotees offer all glory to the original source instead of depending on their own strength. Those who perform assorted religious activities cannot serve the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Become united with one purpose and serve Hari. When there is discussion about Hari, that is a place of pilgrimage. We are not pious, sinful, or learned or ignorant. We are the carriers of the dust of the feet of the Supreme Lord Sri Hari, and we are initiated by the mantra Kirtanya Sadahari. My advice is, do not criticize others, but try to rectify yourself. Our supreme duty is to serve the residents of Raj, who are afflicted by Krishna's departure to Mathura. A pure devotee knows that everyone is the spiritual master. Therefore, a pure devotee that can be Jagat Guru. If we want to follow the path of true auspiciousness, we should give up countless opinions of people and only hear the words of the Vedas. Whatever is auspicious should be desired. An intimate devotee does not have any other desire besides serving the followers of Sri Rupa Goswami. There is no other way of associating with transcendence besides hearing. As soon as we lose the shelter of a protector, everything around us will become our enemy and attack us. Topics about Krishna spoken by a genuine saint are our only protector. A flatterer can never become a guru or a preacher. It is better to remain in millions of species like birds, beasts, insects, and worms that become deceitful. One who is free from deceit receives auspiciousness. Vaishnavism is the other name of simplicity. The servants of the Paramahamsa Vaishnavas are simple. Therefore, they are the best Brahmins. The only duty of the most merciful person is to transform the degraded taste of people. If you can save even one person from the great force of Maya, that will be a greater act of philanthropy than opening millions of hospitals. Those who have not learned to develop their propensity to serve the Supreme Lord from self-realized souls, no matter how pleasing their association may be, it should never be desired. Preaching without practicing is nothing but ritual of karma kanda. If one just serves the Supreme Personality of Godhead and his devotees, his attachment to his household will diminish. Our main disease is to collect objects that are not related to Krishna. We have not come to this world to become an artisan of wood or stone. We are only peons of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mercy. We will not stay in this world for a long time. Only if this body falls, singing the glory of Lord Sri Hari, will our birth in this body be successful. The only desired object in our life to collect the dust from the lotus feet of Sri Rupa Goswami, who fulfilled the desire of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. This material nature, which is averse to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is an examination hall. Tolerance, humbleness, appreciation of others are favorable to develop our devotion to Hari. In every birth, one gets a father and a mother, but one may not get instructions for his ultimate benefit. Although the activities of a devotee and the misdemeanor of a pseudo-devotee appear to be alike, there is a heaven and hell of difference, like milk and lime water. Those who mistakenly dishonesty to be honesty, or a crook to be a saint, will fall into great difficulty, as a person who tries to cheat an ironsmith by supplying him bad steel. As soon as we get to know the absolute truth, we should become fixed in it. Instead of wasting a single moment, we should be engaged in serving Hari. Many people mistake imitation to be following. Those two words are not the same. To play the role of Narada in in a play of his imitation, but to follow the path of devotion according to Narada Muni is following. He who is constantly absorbed in discussing about Sri is a saint. One who is constantly engaged in serving the Supreme Personality of Godhead is a saint. One who in all his endeavors tries to serve Krishna is a saint. If the Supreme Personality of Godhead Narayan offers himself, something remains unoffered, but the devotee can offer the Lord completely. Do not try to become a guru to become envious. Do not try to become a guru in order to become absorbed in material attachment. But if you become my unalloyed servant, if you have acquired my potency, there is nothing to fear. A bona fide spiritual master is non-different from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. If one cannot say that the spiritual master is a personal manifestation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one will not be able to utter the holy name of the Lord. In order to teach us how to serve him, the Supreme Personality of Godhead himself appears as the spiritual master. A living entity cannot derive real benefit by reading hundreds of books or pretending to render devotional service according to his own ideas. Being cheated by those who mislead people in the name of Harikatha has become a sort of religion in this age. Someone will be able to understand the profound meaning of the impartial truth that is being spoken fearlessly after hundreds of lives or hundreds of yugas. Unless hundreds of gallons of hard-earned blood are spent, we will not be able to make people to understand the truth. The Lord does not accept anything offered by those who do not chant 100,000 names of the Lord each day. That's 64 rounds. Of course, Srila Prabhupada reduced that to 16 rounds for us. Association is a principal impetus in human life to serve Sri. Due to the association of non-devotees, one gets material prosperity. Due to the association of devotees, the spirit soul gradually become absorbed in serving Sri Hari. This is the greatest shelter for a human being. Never become averse to that. Whenever there are material difficulties, the Supreme Personality of Godhead becomes the shelter and allows one to serve him. As long as one is anarthas, one does not receive the good fortune of becoming a servant of Srimati Radharani. Those who discuss the transcendental person of Srimati Radharani, the dearest servitor of Krishna, are sense gratifiers, covered enjoyers, and pragati sadhas. When anarthas will be removed due to the chanting of the holy name, then Krishna's form, quality, and pastimes will automatically manifest from the name. There is no need to make an endeavor to artificially remember all his form, qualities, and pastimes. All of you preach the message of Rupa Goswami and Raghunath Das Goswami with great enthusiasm. Our supreme desire is to become the dust at the lotus feet of the followers of Srila Rupa Goswami. Do not give up devotional service even if there are innumerable dangers, countless insults, and endless harassments. Do not become disheartened that people in this world do not accept the message of unalloyed devotional service. Never give up your devotional service and hearing and chanting about Krishna, which is your everything. Always chant the holy name, becoming more humble than a blade of grass and more tolerant than a tree. We do not want to become great fruitive workers or religious leaders. All what we want is to become the dust at the lotus feet of Sri Rupa Prabhu. That is our original identity. We should never display any kind of aversion towards Sankirtan Yajna, which is the perfect sacrifice. If we have gradually increasing love for that, then everything will be accomplished and we will attain ultimate perfection. Just preach the words of Rupa and Raghunath with enthusiasm and courage, with complete dedication to the followers of Sri Rupa. If I stop preaching the unbiased truth due to fear that people will not like it, I'm accepting the non-Vedic way, rejecting the Vedic way. Then I become an atheist, and I lose my faith in the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the personification of truth. In this material world, there are only two representatives of the Supreme Personality of Godhead: the transcendental sound vibration of the Holy Name and his eternally transcendental deity incarnation. The deity is worshipped by the Holy Name. Sentient is served through sentient. For the pleasure of the Lord. His devotees call him by his name to render service unto him, not to fulfill their own desires. The deity is the merciful incarnation of the eternal form and transcendental personality of Godhead of the spiritual sky, Vaikuntha. It is direct proof of the personal form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Vaishnavas do not imagine whether God is a person or impersonal. They are not idol worshippers. Just as the purpose of the Vedas have been briefly described in the Brahma Sutra and the Vedanta Bhashya, the conclusion and purport of the Srimad Bhagavatam has been similarly described in a brief and accurate way. Thus, unless one studies Srimad Bhagavatam under the guidance of a bona fide Vaishnavacharya, he will not be able to understand the real purport of the Brahma Sutra. Srimad Bhagavatam is original commentary of Vedanta Sutra. Shiva Goswami specifically explained that Srimad Bhagavatam is the original commentary of Vedanta Sutra. The word devotion cannot be applied to anything besides Krishna. Krishna is the only subject of devotion. Brahman is object of knowledge. Paramatma is the object of nearness. But Krishna is the only object of service. Every word has a twofold aspect, conveying a meaning based on knowledge and a meaning based on ignorance. The aspects of words that indicate something other than Krishna, Vishnu or Sri Chaitanya conveys the meaning based on ignorance. In knowledge, everything indicates Krishna and signifies Krishna. What the ignorant masses understand about the word Krishna is not the real object of the word Krishna. In the words God, Allah, and even in the Sanskrit words Ishvara, Paramatma, etc., only indicate a great energy coming out of Krishna. They do not indicate the total aspects of the word Krishna. There is no work as auspiciousness as serving the spiritual master. Of all worship, the worship of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the greatest, but the worship of the lotus feet of the spiritual master is even greater than the worship of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Unless this is firmly realized, we cannot realize what saintly association means. We cannot understand what the shelter of spiritual master means. We cannot understand that we are dependent and that he is our maintainer. If we take shelter of the lotus feet of a spiritual master, we can become free from illusion, fear, and distress. If we wholeheartedly beg for his mercy without any deceit, then the spiritual master bestows all auspiciousness upon us. So these are the 64 instructions of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Maharaj. It's good to hear them again and again. They are full of essential instructions for us. Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Maharaj was very proficient in English, and he spoke very high level of English. Our Guru Maharaj Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj, he gave seminars on Brahma Samhita with the commentaries of Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Maharaj. It's very elevated. Even for English speaking or English born persons, it's very difficult to understand that very high. And that so today's a day we can pray for his mercy, and we will get his mercy when we follow his instructions and the instruction of Srila Prabhupada. That so today we remember this great personality Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Maharaj Srila Prabhupada, and we pray for his mercy. So, any comments or questions?
Hare Krishna Maharaj, when you said that we were originally told to do 64 rounds or 100,000 of the holy names, and then Srila Prabhupada said it was okay to do 16. So I guess my question is, how would a householder do 64 rounds if he had to do Dharma and work and have duty to work?
Yeah, that is true. And that it was, Prabhupada also instructed originally to chant 64 rounds. But the devotee said it's too much, we cannot not do that. And Prabhupada said, okay, chant 32 rounds. And the devotee said, no, it's still too much. Okay, Prabhupada said, 16, but not less, and you should do service. So Prabhupada was an acharya and could make that exception. I myself, I chanted for a few rounds, 64 rounds. That then it takes about 6-7 hours if you chant at a good pace. So it's not impossible, 6-7 hours. But our modern society is not helping with that. We have so many so-called duties and things to do. We created so many artificial things, and that makes it difficult. And Prabhupada knew this.
Yeah, it was very difficult. It seems like it's a full-time job to chant 64 rounds, and I struggle with just the 12, just so I have time to read and take your class and do my regular duties. So I'm working on it, but 64 seems like very far out of reach at this moment. But I hope one day I can do it.
Yeah, but when I was doing it, I was getting up at 2 o'clock and I chanted 32 rounds before Mangalarti.
Hare
And
Krishna.
then after the Mangalarti, on the japa time, 24 rounds. And then the rest after breakfast. By 10 o'clock, I'd finished my 64 rounds. So yes, it requires determination, but anyway, that was the instruction of Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Maharaj, and Srila Prabhupada's instruction is different. So we should chant at least 16 rounds with good attention, and we will also get to Mass.
Hare Krishna.
Good. Something else?
Thank you very much, Maharaj, for this special class. Maharaj, would you be able to share those 64, important statements about Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakura?
I will send them to you.
Okay, Maharaj. Thank you very much.
And you can spread them. Thank you.
Yes.
Hare Krishna, Jai, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Maharaj ki, Srila Prabhupada ki, Guru Maharaj ki. Hare Krishna.
His Holiness Bhakti Prabha Maharaj ki Jai. Hare Krishna.